They bring joy to our lives. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. We don't get to go to them anymore, but they're still coming to us. They're edited. They're fixed. Sound mixing. Film, cinematography. Dressing up, clothes. What is this? Script? Writing? Oh, I know what we're talking about. Cinema, movies, lights, camera, action. So I'm Dan. And I'm Nick, folks.
He's okay. We're old friends dissecting one topic at a time. Technology meeting, we've got it all covered.
Each discussion here, deep dive into our unique perspective. Taboo, forbidden subjects, they're all on the chopping block, baby. We don't pander to popular opinion. Might get a little bit dirty.
Warning. Podcast may contain mature language and sexual content. It's for infotainment purposes only.
So join us. Have a good time.
Open up your ear holes. We're going to fondle your follicles.
Okay, so I'm Dan.
I'm Nick, folks. We're back, and whoa,
Ooh.
There's a third panel, so that means we have a third person here. We actually have a guest tonight. This one, I've never met him in my life, but let's have a warm round of whatever we do here on the podcast for Mike D. Mike D, we'll call him. Hey.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Wow.
Don't answer that. I don't really care. Let's just go ahead and jump right in.
This guy. He's
So
a
loving.
consummate professional.
You can tell right away.
So we're bringing him on because he's a movie expert? It says that in his...
don't say that.
He's a buff.
Yeah, no,
he's buff.
Yeah.
What I am is
buff.
someone that literally does nothing except watch TV shows and movies all day.
Fantastic.
That's actually what we were hoping for. That's perfect, actually.
So that constitutes a critic nowadays, right?
Yeah, everyone's a critic. The Critic. Great show, huh? Am I right, folks?
What's his name? Jay?
This is going to be a lot of Dan hitting the only
You're talking about the critic like the cartoon from back then?
Yeah. That was classic. It was kind of ahead of its time.
Jay Lovitz?
Yeah,
John Lovitz?
Oh, John Lovitz.
John Lovitz. Yeah.
What's he doing now? He's doing commercials for what company?
Who the fuck knows?
Either way, that's what you end up doing if you're a great actor or comedian. You end up just doing really bad commercials.
Jay Sherman. That was his name.
That's
right.
It's Jay
Character.
Sherman. We apologize to John Lovitz.
That was his
a big
character.
fan of the podcast. Yeah. Was it?
Uh-huh.
Man, that was an underrated show, too.
It was.
Subtle.
A little ahead of its time.
You had the Australian dude, right? Then there was I guess it was his mother, the old Jewish woman that was always, like, embarrassing the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's kind of like classic bits. I like those things. So we wanted to focus on movies today, but, I mean, we'll talk about TV, movies, the mediums that we consume that are, it's all filmed. It's all literally set up, usually, even reality TV. And it's something that is, like, we consume it on the daily. Like, I can't imagine being without it. It's something that's, like, filmed a certain way, filmed in order, chronologically, and we watch it, and we consume it, and it's friggin' great. And I think movies, whether you agree or not, are getting better every year. What do y'all think of that?
I tend to agree on the whole. I mean, I think movies and TV is getting better, and you're starting to see, with the advent of streaming platforms, that you're no longer bound by that 2-hour time frame that movies kind of had to adhere to. People are actually sticking around to watch literally 10 consecutive hours of a story arc because they have the time, they have the resources now. And so that's, I think, content's gotten better. I'd say hands down. How many times do you hear someone say, "Oh, this is the golden age of television"? I mean, it's kind of annoying when you hear it now, but I think it's kind of true.
Oh, it's 100% true, and it's 100% annoying. It's both. Something can be both. So, well, I was just going to say, like, we grew up when movies were they were going mainstream. Like, we could talk, the first movies were, like, non-talkies. What were they called? Silent films? Like, no one, can you imagine going to a movie theater to see a silent film? I'm just saying. Like, I think it's ridiculous. And I like chronology. It's my favorite thing.
You go to one and, like, pull out your phone.
I always wondered, like,
Someone's pounding off
during
in
a
the
silent
theater
film,
for a-
there's some asshole sitting in the back of the room
Yeah.
playing the piano. That is the score sheet to the movie. What if he just had an off day?
And
Like,
he
would
was
you ever think that
he
movie was
drunk.
terrible because the piano player was out of key or something, or just
Hold on though. So for real, like when they played that silent film, someone live had to play the piano
Yes.
score for it. I
it
didn't
had
know that.
they English music, and they would sit in the back of the room and play the score for the movie.
Dude, how fucked up would it be if he was just off on all of his timing, and not just when he played, like he played the song perfectly, but he didn't start when he should have started, because that's probably like an art to that. Like you have to start right here at this scene or like whatever. Like you imagine some jackass starts like 8 seconds too late, and now you're like, but it's like the dude's just brushing his teeth or something. I don't know. Like silent films for me are a no. I'm gonna do a pass. What do you guys say?
Have you ever watched a silent film?
No, I've never actually watched one. Have you?
I don't think I've. No, only in comedies where they actually bring it up like a 10-second clip.
Right. That's
Yeah.
about how long you can watch a silent film. I think 10 seconds, maybe 40.
When was the last time you watched like 10 hours of something? That's rated Nick.
Was Tiger King? How long was that? I watched that. the other
Watch it
day.
straight through?
Yeah, just about. We watched the first 2 episodes the night before, and then the next 6 in a row. Because I think it was 8 episodes, right?
It's
So
5 hours
I was
long.
wondering how long it would take, and we managed to hit Tiger King within the first 5 minutes.
I know. I didn't mean to, but it's
Tracy,
like, it's on my
my
mind.
girlfriend Tracy,
She called it.
absolutely destroyed this show. She watched the entire thing in a single day.
Yeah, that's
She
crazy,
loved
right?
it. I haven't watched it myself.
Okay, it's a train wreck.
but,
It's a typical train wreck.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Speaking of the devil.
Look at this. Fresh libations. Look at that. You're a little peck. A little peck on the cheek. No, from me. Oh. Hey. She saw me.
Stop looking at her ass while she's walking away. That's my job.
Well, I wasn't looking at it while she was walking towards us. I will say that. So, hold on. Just because I love chronology, guys, and I didn't want to get the Tiger King 5 minutes in, but we did.
Yep.
Let's do silent films. So then I literally just saw this about 2-3 days ago. There's a Twitter account called Freezing Cold Takes, and it does old things that people said. Like this person, Brett Favre, undersized, weak arm, will never make it in the draft. It's like a review before he was drafted, and it's like, you're an idiot. There was one for talking in cinema, and it was a critic who said this was okay as an aberration and a novelty, but talking will never. The sound effects might play into later realms, but talking will never be a part of movies. And it was posted as a freezing cold take. Like that's a bad take. You got busted, my man. But so they made this jump into sound, and that's where like now writing became more of a thing. I guess scripts. Like you get people talking, like it's dialogue, like that's cool. Like still never watch one. You know what I'm saying? I'm still at ground zero for that. And then from there, I guess these things kind of take off.
So
Like,
wait.
Movie. Good.
Oldest movie you've ever really watched that you enjoy?
See, I'd go into film class, like the one where death and the chess pieces. What's that?
Oh, it says. Oh, that's yeah. What is that?
It's the Bergman is the director.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Swedish guy, and like death is like, I am Antonius Block. I will play your chess piece. And Death is always playing chess with him, and he's always cheating.
Max von Sydow was the chess player, the other chess player. He was I think he was a knight.
Yeah, that was Antonius Block. I know his stage name because I'm not good with real names, so that's pretty sweet. That might be the oldest movie I enjoyed. I don't know if it really
1958, The Seventh
Okay.
Seal.
Seventh Seal, boom!
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Like Citizen Kane.
I never saw Citizen Kane. Is that weird?
No. It was a film class I watched it in. It's not like I'd go out and watch an old movie, like that old.
I never finished Godfather.
Movies don't exist for me before 1980. They really don't.
I agree with you, but
knowledge of early cinemas, it's for a movie buff, it's pretty pathetic on it. Like I haven't seen Gone with the Wind. There's like cinema classics out there that I've
Godfather?
never seen.
I never finished
Never
Godfather.
seen The Godfather. Any of them.
I've seen
Not a single one.
I've seen the first half of Godfather like 8 times, but I never finish it because it's really long and like there's stuff going on and I have family life and everything. So what we're getting at here is that I respect this kind of stuff and like older films and Nosferatu, like friggin' ugly ass Dracula and stuff like that. Totally. And I'm not even saying they're bad. It's just hard to watch because it's a different medium than what I'm used to. Like it's like one camera shot for like 8 minutes, like a dude giving like a soliloquy. Like that's not how we do film and TV anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
And you jumped to the 80s, like that's when I think shit started going hardcore good. Is
Action?
that a thing? I don't know.
Comedy? Was there even
Action?
comedy before that?
Nick, I think part of what you're touching on is the fact that early cinema was a lot of stage actors
Mm-hmm.
that they're basically
You're watching a play.
yeah,
Oh, I hate plays.
and everyone does. I mean, God, come on. Is there anything more boring than live drama?
No, you're right.
You know, so it's just I don't think they had really. It's like they were doing a job that hadn't been invented yet, almost.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think
Like podcasting.
you notice a lot of early movies they look and act like they're on stage.
100%. And then it's long shots and like there's not a lot of continuity you have to worry about because it's like just one guy in a room and the camera follows him and there's no camera cuts and everything. But like I'll fast forward because I'm done with my old stuff. Like you started in like the 80s, right? And we were born in the 80s. So it makes sense that the stuff we love is when we were alive. I'm sure if someone's from the friggin' 1950s and says, I can't believe you didn't watch so-and-so, Casablanca, this, Gone with the Wind, like I could respect those things, but I would never enjoy them because I came after them. Like I can't go back and watch a dead medium. It's like if my kid and I showed him Mario, like a video game, and he's like, this sucks. And I'd be like, no, you got to really get into it. And he's like, the graphics are terrible. You can only move left or right and jump. And I'd be like, no, it's revolutionary. Like, I can't explain that to someone if they didn't live the revolution. It's crazy. So we run into that, and our generation, where we were, is the 80s, and I think that's when film, cinema, TV, all this stuff became real for us. And that's our cutoff.
When all things important
Not
happened.
a coincidence that right around that time is also when you have an explosion in the technology of filmmaking, like special effects. I mean, the 80s were
Special
if they were
effects.
about anything, it was about special effects. You know,
Like that Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
So yeah, so 70s into the 80s. I mean, the 70s did produce some pretty good
78,
stuff
79,
too.
late 70s.
Although, God,
1977.
you know instantly when you're watching something pre-1980, like 81, 82, you know right away.
For the exact reason I touched on, the way the cuts are done, like the acting, like it's just a different. You feel different.
Even just the quality of the
image.
The quality of the image. I mean, look at a movie like Billy Jack, which is a famous movie. If you actually see it, I mean,
it looks like shit.
The shot is it's shit. I mean, it looks like a really bad watercolor.
And that's crazy. I don't know what you're talking about, but I know someone over here may have just told me what
is ridiculous.
So, you've seen Major Payne?
No, I haven't.
Damon Wayans?
Yeah. So, the famous line is actually from Billy Jack, and it's, "I'm going to put my right foot on the left side of your face, and there's nothing you can do about it." It was something like that.
Okay, that's
and
pretty
the guy basically kicks the dude in the face faster than he can get his hands up to block it.
Nice.
So that line has been quoted and
requoted and butchered and
requoted a bajillion times in some iteration or another.
So we can all agree, like our childhood is the 80s, and that's when like shit got real for us. And then I think action movies were like a big part of my childhood, like the 90s, like that early 90s, like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, like everyone going off, like that stuff was my wheelhouse. Like that was cool when I was a kid, right?
And you could never. I mean, obviously, sci-fi is a whole nother facet of this, but an action movie in the 80s, I mean, anything prior to that just doesn't hold a candle. You could never do, RoboCop. Right? They just, first of all, they had no concept for it.
Yeah.
But besides
that, could you really shoot a mugger in the dick? Like that's incredible,
right?
Just square in it. Like he's gonna rape this girl, and now he's gonna pay for it. Like that's the AI targeted his dick.
But I mean, I guess the definition of an action movie has changed so much over the years too. Like, what used to constitute an action movie was a swashbuckling pirate and some very poorly choreographed, sword fights.
Right? Yeah. A couple.
And
Nowadays, you have a John Wick
Pirates
3,
of the Caribbean,
or
which is
how about
same genre, right? But just a totally different scale
how
of
about
movie.
fucking a John Wick 3 type thing that we're into now? Like that's about as
They just keep
intense as you
cranking
can
those
get.
out.
Well, and that's what happens with any product. I mean, it keeps getting more and more. So you want more action? You want more intense stuff? You want more realism? You want more stunts? You want more realistic looking, like a guy getting kicked in the face by a horse? Like, yeah, we'll go for it.
Now that this advance in technology and everything comes at a cost.
It does.
And that cost is Michael Bay, essentially, because he's the flip side of that coin, which is, let's not worry about dialogue and story. We need 30 minutes of consecutive explosions, cut in a slow emotional shot with, some music in the background, and then another 30-minute sequence of explosions.
And if John Woo's teaming up with them, there's doves flying around. Like, I love it.
Exploding doves.
Exploding doves. Has anyone done an exploding dove movie or scene? I would heavily invest in it if it were.
Yeah, what was that movie where the birds fly into the prop engine on the plane and it goes down and they...
The Hudson? Tom Hanks?
Yeah, that was the most recent one, I think. It was... where he puts the plane down on the Sully. It was Sully.
Sully, thank you. Yeah, Sully, that's correct.
Puts the plane down on the.
R.I.P.
Was it on
Tom
the
Hanks
River or something?
Yeah, right on the Hudson. R.I.P. Tom Hanks. COVID-19. He's doing fine. His career, I feel like, took a downturn right here. I'm kidding, folks. His head was shaved for a role. It was for a role. So
you totally seeded out of me right there because I had to stop. For solid
think
2
about
seconds.
it.
Wait a minute. Did Tom Hanks die and I just forgot about it?
No. He would know. You probably know.
It would show up in your Twitter.
So the other thing is, we've talked about how these action movies kind of push the pace. So we pushed action. We've pushed explosions. For a while, I think we pushed romantic comedies and stuff. Either way, you get into a genre, like a niche, and you push it as far as you can. And I think what we're seeing maybe from the 2000s, 2010, is that you can have multiple niches. Niche.
Nice.
So
cliche.
And what also is happening is all these things are worth friggin' lots of money, and everything follows the money. So as movies are worth more and more,
Adam
more
Sandler
goes
becomes
into
more and more wealthy. Yeah.
No, that's not where I was going. Jabba-doo, kabba-dabba-doo, dabba-dee.
10 million per Jabba Dabba Doo.
Is that what he's doing?
No, he's...
To be fair,
he's
made a couple of good movies.
Oh, he has. We're not even knocking him. I mean,
granted, that was like 40 years ago at this point.
Which one? Which ones did he make?
Billy Madison.
Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. They were
his production company
back in the day.
Yeah.
Although not all of those hold up very well.
When I watched them, like parts of it, parts are still hilarious.
The answer when I search for Adam Sandler movies, it says at least 67. Like they can't count how many he's done.
They were like, it's like a lot. Dude. Just give up. He's at least 60.
We gave up counting after we hit 67. we couldn't bear it anymore.
What's the series Grown Ups? Like that's a guilty pleasure of mine. I will watch the Grown Ups movies. I will enjoy them. They're not that great. They're probably borderline not good.
They're very neutral.
This does kind of supports your argument though, which essentially is a shitty movie today is still better than the shitty movie back then.
Exactly.
I think the minimum has definitely climbed in terms of overall quality.
100%. And you know why? Because there's probably, when you look at the not the cast, like the credits for a movie now, even like a shitty B-rated movie that wasn't like a full feature cinema event extravaganza, there's like there's 5 grips. A grip is like a guy who works on the cameras. Like there's 14 stunt guys. There's 38 sound editors. There's like a continuity guy. There's probably a freaking continuity guy that's in charge of hats. He's like, his whole job is just to make sure everyone's hats is the exact same in all the scenes. And it's worth paying that guy because this movie will make enough money.
Best
so
boy.
the movie is
Worst
Best
movie?
boy.
Worst movie? 2019?
What's the worst movie?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything come to mind?
No. Worst movie.
Man, I honestly don't remember half of the movies that I watch anymore. I'm becoming my dad.
We all are, aren't we?
Literally was talking to him about this fantastic show on Netflix called Ozark.
I saw 2 episodes.
Char's Cute Story.
It's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Okay.
Anyways, so bring it up, and he's got no recollection of it, not even a little bit. And my mother chimes in, and apparently he literally watched the entire show, as in like
Recently,
how many?
that day.
There's like 2 or 3 seasons up at this point.
3 seasons.
He's seen all of them. Couldn't tell you
That's awesome.
a single thing about any of it.
I wonder if that's the downside to what we're doing. Everything's so well done and so crafted perfectly in its own direction that it's not memorable because it's all so good.
You're so overloaded. So much stimulus.
Yeah, it's a bit of oversaturation. I do think some things stand out. Because the cream, as always, rises to the top. Speaking of which, so I wrote down a couple of suggestions for you guys.
Oh, he's got notes. He brought notes.
Suggestion hour.
What kind of subscriptions y'all have? However, and these are we're probably going back a little bit within the last 10 years, we'll call them, most of these.
Okay.
If you have Hulu,
Nope.
I strongly recommend Letterkenny.
Oh, I love Letterkenny. That's why when you said, to be fair, the dialogue in that show is the best I've ever seen in any show.
Fantastic show.
Best.
Killing Eve, pretty solid show.
Okay.
It's the main actress, I forget her name, Sandra Oh, was from Grey's Anatomy, which is one of Tracy's favorites.
Okay.
But
one of the best written shows, but I can't watch it.
Beginning was good. The end.
It's in my B rotation.
Like you'll watch it.
Yeah, well, it's something that Tracy and I actively watch together.
That's the thing. If you're watching it with her, like that's cool.
Exactly.
You wouldn't seek it out yourself, but I get you.
Yeah. So, Dan, this one might appeal to you a little bit.
UnP.
Also on Hulu. You ever heard of Adventure Time?
Nope.
So, if you're looking for something that might shut the kids up for a few minutes, they're all super short episodes. They're usually between 10 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's the type of show that is, it's animated, and a lot of it is on its face would appeal to a kid. It's about a young boy and his talking dog that has superpowers, and they live in what is essentially post-apocalyptic Earth. The Earth has gone through a major catastrophe, and so
unrelatable.
Life on the planet basically doesn't even resemble what it used to. People are made of candy, among other things. But if you're looking for a show that works on a couple of levels, on its face, your kids could enjoy it as just a goofy, animated show about a kid that runs around fighting monsters and exploring dungeons. But there's also a lot of humor in it that it's not obvious to them, but it's stuff you might pick up on. And beyond that, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I literally have seen the entire show front to back probably 2 or 3 times at this point. And I only started watching it in 2019.
Okay.
That was a good one. This one didn't originally show up on Hulu, but if you're looking for something that you have never seen anything like before, just something totally unique, it's called Legion. It's loosely based on a Marvel character of same name, Legion. It's basically, I think the best way I could describe it is if a TV show was abstract art.
Interesting. Is it like hell
kinda,
and demons and like?
So the gist of it is it's about mutants, near future. So X-Men, mutants. It's that universe. It's that Marvel X-Men universe. And it's about a guy, super powerful psychic, who is also batshit crazy and has basically schizophrenia, has his entire life, and finds out at one point that maybe he's not entirely crazy, and some of the voices in his head are actually this other entity, this mutant being called the Shadow King that has been living inside his head since he was a baby. But it's a show that is admittedly it's hard to follow at times. There would be 20 minutes of just what seems like utter nonsense, and then you get to the end of the episode or the end of a season, and it's like the last jigsaw piece falls into place, and the picture suddenly makes total sense. It's a show that half the time I was like, I don't know what the hell is happening, but I like it.
Interesting.
So yeah, if you're looking for something completely unique, Legion. Plus, I mean, I'll literally watch anything that's got superpowers, mutants, monsters, whatever it is, fantasy, sci-fi, all that shit. Like I eat that shit up.
What do you think about MCU?
As in, like,
so what is it?
Was it N something? What was that movie?
What one?
Highest grossing movie of all time. Thanos.
Talk about the Avengers movies?
Yeah, Adventures.
All right, so hold on, right before we get to that, because what I was going to say is that all these movies and TV shows make so much money.
Even the worst movie of 2019 made $40 million.
Not bad. Not a bad chunk of change.
Sherlock and Holmes.
So what I was going to say is that the whole superhero movies, especially the Marvel universe, like it became, I think for our generation, or at least for our time right now, the best done movies in maybe my lifetime. I don't know if it holds up, but I think it will. Because I think it's the best editors, the best sound people, the best actors, the best writing, the best special effects. It's like all of the collective largest working body of people, and it's a huge amount. Like,
how much do you think it cost?
I have no idea, but a lot.
It took
the most important thing is it doesn't cost as much as it made, which is why they will keep making them.
100%, but that's why this is one of the best products you can absorb. It's nothing like a movie made in 1970. It's the exact opposite.
So
it's got. Go ahead.
It took.
What did it cost? What did it make?
$350 million to make, and then market was $150 million, and it made $2.8 billion.
That's nuts.
Make $2 billion off a movie.
But it's. I just
rethinking his life.
Hold on. I also want to tell you guys this.
The superhero.
I just finished Endgame. Is that the last one?
Yeah, Endgame.
I started it 6 months ago when we rented it on demand or whatever, and I got through like an hour and a half, and I forget it was like 2 in the morning, and I went to bed.
Yeah. What?
Well, I got to where they were going through time, and I started getting confused, and I started like, oh my god! So I gave up. I finished it today, actually.
Tears. You're crying?
No, I mean no, because
It's a fucking great ending.
Yeah. Do you know why I didn't want to go back? Is because I saw all the memes, and I kind of think I knew who died, and I kind of think I knew what happened, and I kind of was right on everything.
That's why you can't wait on that shit, man.
I know, but like, this is what happened to me. I thought I knew what I was going into, and I got exactly what I wanted, and it was beautiful, well choreographed. Friggin' everyone is fighting everyone, and the stage is so huge, and there's never been more battle and epicness that I've ever seen in my life, but it didn't do anything weird or surprise me or make me feel special, or I don't know. It didn't do anything unique because I kind of knew what was going to happen.
Dan, you need a new chair, man.
Squeaky.
Or at least just get a can of WD-40 or something. No, yeah. I loved it personally. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Actually, they're some of my favorite movies. But what I wonder mentally is that what will happen to these movies in 20 years? Will they be the Casablanca of our generation? Like, will people be like, oh, you guys were alive? Avengers? Oh my god! And then Endgame? And like, will they say that, or will movies just get so much better every year?
How many?
That this is just another run?
There were like 20 movies in that, like the phases. I think there's
Yeah.
another phase after this, so it still goes. But I don't know that it can top
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I believe.
They slid the whole timetable back. Obviously, they pushed everything back. Not just the stuff that was not just the stuff that was directly affected. They pushed their whole schedule back. They slid everything back, because obviously they've got this all mapped out. I mean, they know they release something early summer. They don't want to release something else on the heels of that. They want to, give it time to simmer a little bit. Yeah, they got this down to a science at this point. But
doesn't that make you guys feel weird though? What you just said. They have it to a science. They know exactly how to edit these things. They know the special effects. They know all the camera angles to make something appear epic. They know which music to play. They know when volume swells happen. They know all the best actors for all the best roles. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it is perfect. But what's the cost?
But it's
here?
Intentional. It's not like they set out to say, I really want to make sure Nick enjoys this movie. Their ultimate goal was, we want a successful product.
Exactly. And they did. They did. It's incredible. The result is beautiful. I think it's the best.
Man, it's kind of the same argument people have been having over targeted advertising for years now, which is basically, yes, they know a lot about you, more than probably you'd feel comfortable when it really came down to it. But ultimately, it means you're getting ads that might actually appeal to you. So it's kind of a win-win. I mean, yes, they have it down to a science, and maybe that's a little Machiavellian.
It's like a choose your own adventure movie, where it just shows what you want to see, and somehow you watch the same movie and it's completely different.
Well, that's where we're heading with VR and being able to read. Well, they've got human psychology down to
Oh, they do.
I was about to say they've got psychology down to a science, but that's been a thing for 200 years or something.
Yeah, roughly.
I also think it's getting more generic too. It's now they're trying to fit a global audience, and they're making it more visual, more graphic. Everything's kind of, I don't know. If you see the comparison of the MCU movies versus the Justice League and all that garbage, the dialogue.
Garbage. I mean, they're not garbage, but they're not.
It's pretty bad. The Justice League movie is the dialogue is complete. It's trash. They don't care because they think they know they could make a bunch of money off of it.
Well, it's hilarious, isn't it? I mean, because DC, just take the movies out of the equation. DC has the stronger properties in terms of Batman, Superman, the Joker.
Right.
They've got arguably the better source material. Whether or not but for whatever reason, Marvel just did such a better job. It's not even close.
Again, I think it goes back to this editing, sound production, teams that work on the writing and stuff like that. And actually, maybe. And do you know what I actually think is a breath of fresh air? That Guardians of the Galaxy. I actually don't know where that came from, but I feel like it gives that renegade extra thing, because I never heard of them until the movies.
It's all the cliques in high school. You kind of have your own little area, and then tying them together makes you feel like you're part of the crew.
In the clique? Yeah. I could see that.
I think Guardians tapped into something that was missing from the MCU, and that was a little bit of levity. They've always had jokes interspersed, but you want to talk about a movie that does not take itself seriously. Even the second one, Guardians 2, which, in my opinion, is not as good as the first. You can tell they were just having fun with it. He literally plays catch with his dad with a ball of light. And it is the cheesiest, stupidest scene you've ever seen. And they know that going in.
Right.
So they're having fun with it, at least. And I think that rounds out the picture a little bit, because you've got the more serious stuff. The Avengers movies were always, I think part of the reason they're so successful is it's such a good blend of good writing. It's funny, it's witty banter, but you've also got
good acting,
nostalgia.
You've got good acting, you've got
good camera
action,
work. Beautiful
you've got
camera work.
Human drama. There are actual stakes, So they did a great job of hitting on a lot of bases, and I think that's part of the reason they've been so successful too.
Can I tell you guys the funniest joke? Is the Rocket the raccoon. He's trying to build a bomb to give the group in to attach to the brain, and he's asking Quill, "Hey Quill, do you have any tape?" And he says, "No, I don't have any tape." And there's like a huge battle going on, and everyone's fighting, and there's all these people just like life or death, but they're having this conversation. And he says, "Anything, I just need tape to attach to the thing so I can cross off." And he says, "I'll ask everyone." And then he says, "Hey Jax, do you have tape?" And Jax says, like, "Scotch tape?" And he says, "Yeah, Scotch tape will work." And he says, "No." "Well, why did you ask Scotch?" He says, "Ah." But that's to this day one of the funniest scenes in cinema that I can think of. No, why would you say?
They're chock full of that stuff too. There's so many little, throwaway jokes that
are so good
on their own. They're great on their own, and then put it into an entire, what is basically woven together into this massive tapestry of, of cinematic moments, and that's why they're just fantastic movies on their own. You could remove genre from it altogether. They're just great movies.
Great.
Does it inspire
so we
you?
Touched on.
I kind of feel like whenever I see those movies, I always want to create like that world, so that like someone else could take like source material from me, like Stan Lee, and then like create all these characters. But I don't think I could do it. Like for Stan Lee to create all this stuff and allow it to just play out like right before his death, like that's insane. It took a lifetime to do that.
But
multiple lifetimes actually, when you consider the fact that it was because it was him. It was, what was the other dude, Jack Kirby, that helped him, ink the actual comics back in the day. Like, and also apparently he had some input in the creative process. By the way, if you're a comic book nerd, I'm speaking out of total ignorance here, so forgive me. Not really my forte. I think the last thing I read was a text on my phone from you guys. Don't do books, so whatever. But yeah, because it's literally multiple people working on this stuff, devoting their entire lives to it.
Yeah, it's the pinnacle of what we would call cinema or TV. Do you guys want to flip the TV at all? Because I think TV took that resurgence. Go ahead.
I had a couple more suggestions for you too.
Rex.
So if you have Amazon Prime, like most people do nowadays, and you like sci-fi, there's something called Tales from the Loop. Kind of like your standard Outer Limits, or what's the one with the door? Help me out here.
Tales from the Crypt.
Classic. Classic like sci-fi.
The Spanish director dude who has all the weird monsters?
Oh, Black Mirror?
No, the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Black Mirror, by the way, fantastic. Most of them. I think they had a really, really poor choice for the first episode. I don't like a dude fucking a pig. I didn't really grab my attention, but every episode after that was pretty good.
It's weird because I've seen a lot of pornography videos that started that way. Don't ask how I got there, but they were enjoyable.
Started that way and ended that way, I imagine.
And you
too.
finished that way.
No, it was like a
They started that way, and you finished the other way.
It was a spit roast, guys, over a fire. 2 guys on either end. Never mind.
Right. So Tales from the Loop, if you like sci-fi and you're looking for something that's a little bit trippy, and if you've got HBO, Westworld.
Oh hell yeah!
Westworld.
Something that I had put off, and I finally devoted the time to watching it.
That first season.
I powered through the first 2 seasons in like a month, and been watching season 3, and it's been excellent.
Can we ruin it for Nick? Because I don't think Nick's seen that. Because I suggested that
a few
months
ago.
It,
guys, don't ruin it.
And I already suggested it, so it's too late. It's allowed to be ruined now.
What's the one, the sci-fi that's
changing the subject?
Yeah, of course. Where they take over the bodies and stacks and all that. I love that one.
Oh, Altered Carbon.
Thank you guys.
Man, I can't believe I didn't suggest that one. I just watched season 2 of that.
There's a season 2?
Not as good as season 1. Yeah, it actually came out, I want to say, maybe a month or 2 ago.
It misses the style of what it became.
Same characters, or now a whole different?
So it's the same characters, but
different people.
Sleeves, being what they are, body jumping. It's a different actor. It's actually Anthony Mackie, who was Falcon from the Avengers.
Yeah. Okay.
So he takes over the role of Takeshi Kovacs.
That's kind of cool. Wait, like that's I would see that.
Right.
I would totally watch it. It's
so the first season was much more like
groundbreaking.
Blade Runner, film
Yeah.
noir, like get that great gritty dark feel to it.
Mystery.
Yeah, second season I think was much less noir and more just kind of standard sci-fi.
Okay.
So good. Not as good as the first season, but I'll probably keep watching it. I mean,
So there's something like you bring up, like the main core of the plot really pushes the way the movie is shown, and Westworld has like the same sort of hooks that like it gives you a premise and it explores that premise in a way that surprises you. And Westworld, the first season, the end of that, I was like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming at all, and I should have, and that's what pissed me off and made me like the season so much. You should watch Westworld, Nick. You've got 24 hours.
Westworld is it's a great one because there's a handful of characters that you heavily invest in,
and then
that you're dying to know where their story arc goes. So I don't want to tell you too much about it.
You can kind of ruin it because it sounds like you're setting up like Game of Thrones characters, where it's like, wow, this character is, oh my god, they just killed them all. Or something terrible happens.
I'll tell you,
they don't
death
die.
is a theme. Death is definitely a common running thread, as with a lot of things. But it's Dan is spot on. They do it in a very interesting way.
Interesting.
And addressing a lot of existential questions like, who am I? Who are we all? Like, what makes us who we are? Part of our identity and choice, free will, stuff like that. Like, it does a great job exploring those topics in a way that's not boring or overly heady.
Right, or like overhanded, like philosophical.
Yes. There is still a tangible plot that you can latch onto, and they kind of give you these topics as things you can think about and explore it, but
as a real
there's still a
version
central
of philosophy.
story driving everything.
It's a little homework. Yeah.
No, I'm into that. I will put that on my list of must-dos. Not like
last thing I wanted to mention was, and this one not so much because I enjoyed it, but I just watched. I started at 11 o'clock last night. Don't ask me why. I watched It Chapter 2.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen the first one either because I'm kind of.
I was like, I haven't been scared in a while. I'll turn all the lights off and.
I don't like that shit. Is that weird?
He's scared.
Yeah, you're just a pussy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Just sack up.
I'm just.
The first one was better.
The first one's better, and
I haven't seen the
second one was really more of a.
Just tying it
more
up.
of the same, honestly.
So hold on.
The same
So let me ask you guys because you saw it, and I'm just guessing here. Did the second one go heavy-handed in the scare tactics? Go extra into the special effects? Did it go more into the bizarre, like the things that made it successful? Because I wonder how TV series, movies, etc. go awry when they recreate something. Because it's hard to recreate something. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like it was paced the same. Like it didn't accelerate the way it needed to in order to make it feel like it was like getting more frantic.
Dan, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Because I haven't just seen it. It's kind of fresh in my mind. The first one I thought was very well paced. There was a kind of an organic flow to the events. Things had a kind of a natural succession and a build-up.
What's the one kids are throwing rocks at someone?
Very deliberate, very almost forced in the way that they paced it out.
Like they were trying to make the second movie like the first in the pacing, but it wasn't natural?
No, I mean, meaning, I don't know how much... They definitely tried to tie everything together, which makes sense. I mean, it's a two-part story. It's one story. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. So all of these characters leave Derry, they leave this small town, and forget. And it's actually part of the story is when you leave this town, you forget things that happened. And when they come back, one of their central things they have to accomplish is they've got to go to the places that were meaningful to them when they were kids and find a token, some sort of symbol
physical remembrance
of their experiences back then. Yeah, a physical remembrance, like maybe a photograph or a knife or a lighter or a bicycle or something that embodied that time or their experiences from back then, something important to them. And so they give you these short little, maybe 10, 15-minute sequences, and you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They show you the character. They're walking up to this place that had some significance to them. You know that there's not going to be a scare immediately. They're going to go in. They're going to sort of descend into, the ninth circle of hell, so to speak. And then once they're there, that's when the scares start coming out. So the pacing was very predictable in terms of when the scares were coming.
Was it the same director? Do you guys know?
I think so. I mean, I assume so.
That would make sense. Because that would make sense. He's trying to recreate. Unless it also would make sense if it was a new director trying to pay homage. Okay.
Yeah, same director, I believe. It was what Mike's hinting at is that it was more like there are like 4 short stories kind of in the middle of the movie, and at that point you're looking for the characters to like mingle. Like you want them to go on the adventure together, and they're all separate, and exactly what's going to happen because you saw the previous movie where you know what their flaws are. So their flaws are just playing out, and you're waiting for them to see it, and it like doesn't do really anything.
That's really funny you said that, dude. You just told me the whole movie. That's so crazy. See it. You want them to see it, and it is it. In one sense, the clown, but in one sense, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There was something I actually really did like about the movie, and that is one of the characters, and this is kind of a TV show and movie trope, and that is the one that did the research, right? There's the
brainy one
that read the stories. It's not always a brainy person, but it's somebody that looked back. It's the historian of the group. It's the person that the writer uses to give you the context, the backstory. So they're really a vehicle for the writer to just flesh out the backstory for you.
Borderline lazy. I mean,
but
to a degree, but I understand. You need it.
It's a cliche for a reason, and that's because it works. I mean,
it moves the story. It tells
So basically, that character has done some research, predictably. Checked some books out of the library, probably well overdue, 27 years late.
You better check that.
And he ties in this story about talking with the Native American tribe that has inhabited this land since before the country was even founded, like basically reaching way back to old times, the times of myth, so to speak. And so they tie in the fact that this creature, this being, Pennywise, is not just a couple of centuries old. He is literally
millennial.
Conceivably
as old as man,
1,000 years old or more. And that he has been, he's essentially something from another time, another age, when monsters and magic were real, so to speak. Even though it's sci-fi, it's not even remotely tied in with magic, but that's the kind of general sense, that it's a throwback to a time in humanity when our beliefs were a bit more, fluid, less scientific,
naive.
Yeah, and stories, this idea that stories were how we communicated our history, rather than, recording it like with video and such.
Podcasts, video podcasts, I agree.
But so that that idea of tying everything back into that old time, that the time before time kind of a thing. I thought that was kind of cool. And the way that they represented that visually in the movie was pretty sweet too. Dude ends up tripping balls and actually sees a version of the events that unfolded back, when Pennywise basically first appeared on this planet. So that was kind of cool. This is probably like 20, 30 minutes too late, but spoiler alert.
It's funny you guys said that because I think that's like a theme that will probably get more popular at some point, or will become like the most popular. It's stuff before we can record stuff, like you mentioned. Like people, like nowadays we can record everything, we can see everything. Myth. I think myth is dying in the real world, so it's like it's nostalgic. Like that's awesome when we can talk about stuff that happened before we could record it. When we talk about stuff that could happen. Like usually we use, it's funny because the Native American theme is totally like poltergeisty. It was built on an ancient burial ground. Like that's a thing because it's symbolic of older than we can record. This is before we know, and it's kind of awesome because that's the opposite of what cinema is. Cinema, we record shit, we plan it, we got it perfect. We got actors, we got scripts, we got when to edit, when to cut. We friggin' cut every 8 seconds. All the cuts now, like. The stories we love to hear about, though, fucking older than time, older than we can record, older than we can write down, dude. That's the shit we love. You can't even
do the sitcoms anymore, like a Friends or a Seinfeld. Like those sitcoms are dead because technology made it so easy to resolve all those kind of struggles.
It kind of is. Like you can't. You imagine if they could just text each other in all these shows we watched from like 20 years ago?
Sit there texting.
Yeah. Oh my god! It's like someone hits the coffee table and they're like, "We got to stop him before he goes there." And it's like too late. Kramer's already going to the office or somewhere. But if they could have texted him, it would be over. The episode's done. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's as old as Shakespeare. I mean, that idea of we came so close to actually, communicating and figure. Like Romeo and Juliet is literally the whole drama of the last sequence.
If they could have texted each other.
They could have just texted each other. Oh, hey, by the way, I'm not actually
taking
dead.
this sleeping pill.
Don't fucking
I'll be
kill
good.
yourself.
I'll be good.
I wanted to touch on something that you had said because we talked about stories from before we could record history. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason that those are so powerful is because humans haven't really changed. Like the technology's changed, but our biology and the way our brains work hasn't really changed all that much. And so that idea of stories or things from before recorded history, it evokes a kind of a primal, aspect of human nature. And what's more primal than fear?
Fear, life, death.
Exactly. Fear of death, fear of the unknown and everything. So they kind of go hand in hand. You're talking about something you're essentially back in the day before recorded history. You're literally calling back to that primitive, primal experience. So I think that's why they're so powerful, those stories. And I think you're right. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. It's not human beings are still, human beings.
Because it's a real thing. We really sort of can experience it, but we can't experience it now, if that makes sense.
Well, how else to explain religion? I mean,
pretty popular. Pretty popular.
Science changes a little bit, and
bunch of stories
recedes. But human beings are wired to need those transcendent primal experiences, those visceral, like existential experiences. They kind of round out, for whatever reason, they round out our
because
lives.
we don't want to know that life is just making eggs one day and they're kind of not perfect and like recording it on Instagram, and then like someone else made eggs the other day and theirs was better than ours, and like it's recorded on Instagram, and then like someone on Twitter said this, and like your Facebook posted this and all this, and you want to believe that there's something beyond all that. I mean, that would make sense, right? Something magical, something crazy, something just more than the mundane.
Like hash browns?
You made hash browns? Did you record it on Facebook?
I mean, I haven't recorded a meal on Facebook in, I don't know, like 10 years.
Should we give you a round of applause?
I actually have a badge that I wear.
It says I haven't recorded a meal in a decade.
I haven't tweeted a picture of a meal in 10 years. It's like it's like an Alcoholics Anonymous chip. You get a 10-year chip.
It's you taking a picture of some food and then being like, post, and you're like, no, don't share it. Don't share it. It's been 10 years. Just hold it for yourself. Yeah. I mean, so what we're rounding about here, because I think we're getting into religion, spirituality, Native American burial grounds,
and Braveheart.
We're talking about movies, and Braveheart, and Poltergeist, is that when we talk about movies are more than just what I always think they are. editing and sound guy and like a grip guy and like this guy who does this camera work and the actor and whoever writes the lines, and someone's going to check all the lines to make sure they all work together and continuity is good, and we spend millions of dollars on these movies. It's more than that. There are stories. They're kind of like our old tales from what you said back in the day, like before time. So they are a little bit sacred to us, right?
Yep. You could do a whole nother entire podcast on how video games have changed from what used to be essentially just dicking around wasting time to they've turned into a legitimate storytelling medium, just like movies and music and everything else.
What Dan said earlier about one day they're going to merge and we're going to be able to play our own movie, and it's going to be algorithm to our perfect adventure, right? Probably.
Yeah, you're basically going to have to be able to tap into like the human subconscious, though, which there's going to be some really twisted shit coming out. I mean,
I'll go on fans only or like a lot of different websites off of Reddit or like whatever, and you can see some twisted shit right now.
Yeah.
Don't have to go. Don't have to go that far. Don't
spin
have to go far.
Spin.
You can go on Black Mirror. And
two guys spinning a page.
Yeah, now, and I mean, Christ, the internet is basically unfiltered as it is. And we'll get to a point where it's not just unfiltered, but it's totally real-time stream of consciousness unfiltered.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Shit's going to go weird, man.
It is. And if everyone's doing it and everyone's giving off this weird-ass shit, where's the shame? Everyone's weird as shit. Everyone's got unfiltered shit going on. Everyone's fucking going nuts and epic and bacon and fucking different animals. And I don't know. Folks.
If you want to see something trippy as hell,
No,
look up the trailer for Midnight Gospel. So, I referenced Adventure Time earlier. It's a show that references a lot of the same things that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. Well, Midnight Gospel is basically that same guy doing a slightly more adult and definitely more twisted, like nightmare reality version of that.
Is this like a Ren and Stimpy version?
Definitely shades of Ren and Stimpy, which is one of my formative years TV shows that I fucking loved. But if you go back and watch it now, it's disturbing as fuck.
It's like Rocko's Modern World too.
Rocko's is like more PG-13 version of Ren and Stimpy.
It harks on like adult themes of like what you're going to die. Your soul is going to die rather than.
The thing about Ren and Stimpy that always cracks me up looking back is the whole, it'll be Ren or Stimpy like talking like, is the coffee ready? And then it's like a super close up of Stimpy's nose and there's boogers everywhere. His face looks cracked like he just did cocaine. His lips are all parched. And it's like, anything for you, Ren? And it's like lighthearted and funny, but then like immediately it's followed by a scene of like an uber close up of like a toilet covered in shit, boogers, weird stuff. No one knows what's going on.
Sucking it in. Goes with the coffee. Sniffs it in, and it drops.
They were doing the ultra, like high def close up of like you see someone's mole on their face and like the hair's coming out of it. And
shit. Yeah. Yes. It would be like in a cartoon, and it's like that's probably not necessary because the very next scene
that show is a twisted individual that I'm pretty sure wanted to actually do.
It was
an adult cartoon.
Ed Camp, and someone else, and I think they got arrested for like messing with a kid, maybe, but I'm
pretty
not
sure that guy. Pretty sure Ren and Stimpy was the dialed back version of what he actually wanted to do.
Yes,
just to give you an idea of how fucking twisted you've got to be for Ren and Stimpy to be.
Bob Camp, thank you. And either way, I'm not saying anything bad about Bob. He's a great guy. He listens to the podcast. We like him. He's a subscriber. You guys should subscribe as well. Thank you. Anyway, allegations.
Done this before? Is this your first time doing this?
This is our first episode, and you're our first
201st episode.
Just think of how good you guys will be at this, like when you've done a couple of these. You know?
I agree. Well, it's weird. We've had the best guest we've ever had on. This guy has never even. Have you ever actually left your mom's basement?
I did.
Okay. Well, that explains why you're so good at movies. I mean,
I've got some stuff there. You know,
some stuff there.
He's got an old womb he likes to slide into.
Yeah, some stuff there. That's where I hang out. Anyway, if we were to round this episode out, guys, we talked about talkies, silent films. We talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We talked about video games. We talked about Westworld. We talked about everything. How would you kind of wrap up what movies and TV are to us? Are they our gift to the world, our curse, what we have to watch, what we love to watch, what we do when we're bored? What are movies and what is it?
Yes.
What are we doing? Thank you.
All of the above.
All of the above. Escapism at its finest. And
yeah, I would agree.
It's also sharing the experience.
look, people
art. It's art,
have been
right?
telling stories since there have been people, and it's just the latest, greatest way of doing that. Now we can tell stories that they're not limited by the world around us in terms of you can create a whole world, a whole universe, you know? I fucking love it. I want more. I want more every day. Every time I run out of shows to watch, I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do now? Like, what am I gonna do? I can't go outside and like.
What is my life?
I can't go outside and like live
Explore
a real life.
New world. Yeah.
You know, what is my life if I'm not slaying a dragon or seeing monsters or magic or aliens taking over or giant clown spiders descending on the world and turning people into candy.
Or a battle for freedom.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with any of that. I think it's all good stuff. I think we summed it up pretty well. Mike, do you have anything to plug here? Would you like to do any charities? Never mind, you don't do charity. Mike, would you?
It's a funny joke. I'd like to plug something though, but I think we'll have to be in person for that.
I'm taken, Mike. Have a girlfriend, so I don't know about anyone else.
Since when?
Yes.
What's her name? Is it Leftisha?
It's right on. So, what we're saying, folks, is check out our socials. Check out our whatever we have that Dan put on the internet. Check out our blogs, our Patreons. Check out anything. Listen, if you want to talk to us, you can put stuff in the comments. You can literally ask us questions. You can be like this: I can't believe so-and-so forgot so-and-so. And all you keyboard warriors can tell us all the great shows and movies we forgot. You can even be, if you're over 70 and you love the talkies and you want to tell us about the talkies, put it in the comments below. We'll read the hell out of it.
And if anybody has any suggestions for shows, TV shows, movies, fire away because I need it.
Them.
I need it. Please help me. I need more.
The eyes of an
out
addict.
things to watch.
The eyes of an addict, folks. I just need help. I just need to find more. So yeah, I mean, it's our addiction, but it's probably not a bad addiction. I mean, people said TV would rot our brains. They're wrong. Movies did that.
Are we to the point where they make movies so fast that you can't ever watch everything?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably.
Crazy.
I mean, I suppose you could try. It would probably kill you.
Yeah, you couldn't live your life.
Couldn't work, for sure.
Yeah.
You literally have to be consuming at least one thing at any... No, you couldn't do it. You have to be consuming...
multiple monitors. You could play everything all at once.
You would need multiple monitors running 24/7. You couldn't sleep. And you'd have to have people bringing you food and like wiping your ass.
That's
doable.
Usually what my mother does anyway. I mean, sounds reasonable.
Mother, girlfriend, same thing, right?
Same person. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. That's Michael D. You can find him at his handle. Oh, he's not online. You can't find him, folks. You can only find him here on the
Don't bother trying. Just text Nick. His number is 26.
No. And
Nick will make sure I get everything.
Yeah, and he will not respond to any of it. So thanks for joining us. That's Mike.
Thanks for having me.
That's a ghost here. You did great.
It was a hoot.
He didn't do great, but we're going to talk about that afterwards. That's Dan. I'm Nick.
Yep.
Folks, we like you. We like you
a lot.
A lot.